We are live. If everything I've done has gone well, literally what happened is I was setting up my computer to do a whole live stream thing, and literally the computer just did a complete thermal shutdown on me, which has prevented me from doing any kind of live stream at all. So here I am. Let me see if I can adjust my camera there. Okay, so basically I've just been recently got married and been, of course, working a full-time job, being really busy, and still working on I try to release 3 books a year. And what happened recently is I only released 2 books last year because of just how much stuff was going on. I'm still working on stuff. I still have the manuscript for the new book and this thing. Oops, this is one of the pages. And this is the manuscript. This is a list of all the books I'm working on or plan to release in the future. And the thing I realized is that as long as you're able to devote time to writing and you have just a few moments of every day to work on it, everything works out well. It's just got to have the time for it. And even though you might run into all kinds of roadblocks stopping you from completing the work that you're supposed to do, just gotta hang in there and do it. For example, I'm the kind of person who likes to have the manuscript in front of me so I can read it and see everything, and all printed out on paper. The other day, my printer ran out of ink. I know it's a silly problem to have, but and I just decided, because I didn't want to run to the store to get the thing printed out, what I did was I went ahead and I printed in red writing. So it's just a lot of stuff to read. And of course, I feel like part of me feels like none of my the work I do will never be good enough when I do writing and stuff like that. It feels like always more I can improve, always more I can work on, even though I put 100% of my effort into all the books. Sometimes I can feel like there's still more to do, and more effort I could have put in. Once the thing's out, it's you regret putting it out, because you could have done more work for it and made the reader have a better experience by working harder on it. But essentially, yeah, I'm glad that I found out that at least in some capacity, even though I only have 97 subscribers, that I'm able to live stream on YouTube. I've had this idea to just do a bunch of just a day where I'd live stream on every single platform, not restreaming it, but do a unique stream on every platform, just to have something out there on everything. And just so even though some of the platforms might have no viewership, it's always just good to have stuff out there. And it's of course practice talking and presenting stuff. The thing is, I've been doing so much writing but no actual presentation of this stuff. I feel like I need voice acting lessons to get this stuff out there and everything like that. Let's see if I can bring the chat up. Hang on. Did I just freeze my stream? Yeah, the chat comes up on the screen. So yeah, they designed this pretty well. It's kind of like Instagram, how when you look at your phone, the chat automatically comes up on the screen. So I'm liking that. Obviously, I feel like I have so much work to do, and just pack my schedule full of future books to release. And I feel like if I don't want to renege on any of the projects I'm working on. This binder in front of me has excerpts from 4 distinct book projects, at least 4 or 5. The biggest one is the American Poets book, which is has the subtitle Elegy for the Light, which essentially is about these characters trying to leave the situation that they're in. It's, this character named John Doe, this character named, well, John Doe is the name of the character because he's like the everyman. You know, like when there's someone who can represent all people, and John Doe is like the name people use in court to represent someone anonymous. That's what that character is supposed to be like for the poetry book. And of course, all the characters have names that represent themselves as a character, essentially. And I think this American Poet Elegy for the Light book is the most political project I've written so far. But at the same time, it feels like it tells like a succinct story. It's still a true poetry book. It's not really a narrative poetry book, but it's like the thoughts of the characters throughout the story it's in chronological order in this case. With the Harmony and Leafy story, not necessarily everything was in chronological order, but with this one, it's like all 100% chronological. I got the characters traveling through the story, traveling through the cities, and traveling to different parts of the United States. They start out, at least as far as I have it now, they start out in Oakland, California, and they end up traveling all the way across the country. These group of disenfranchised characters. Let's see, I have the character list in front of me. I keep forgetting my own stuff, and I really feel like I want to start memorizing my work, because memorizing is like a skill that is good to learn, and it's always, great to memorize something. It's like a competitive art. If you truly memorize something, you are really like a competitive person, and everything like that. So let's see, what else was I gonna say? Yeah, I was gonna discuss the characters in the book. Of course, I mentioned character one is John Doe, and then you have this, he's the character who's supposed to represent the everyday American. And then you have a new character called Don't Cry Girl. Just this really sad, artistic character. And then you have sort of like kind of, not really an alter ego, but like sort of like a complementary character to Don't Cry Girl, who is named Galway Girl. Probably got that name from the Ed Sheeran song, but it's just a character that is like a very adventurous and like nothing stopping her character. It just goes throughout the story and says things the way they are and the way she thinks she says things, and she's very blunt about everything, and you only have one life to live and might as well make the most of it. And then you have another character named Father Time, who is a time-traveling Catholic priest who is transported to the modern world mysteriously. Then you got a few more characters. Of course, the narrator, who is, in other words, referred to as the American poet. Then you have Esperanza. It's another character who I really haven't run the details about, so I'm just going to skip that one for now. Then the final characters is Joey Rocket, who is a punk rocker who is disillusioned with the world and recently lost his ability to perform or make money. We meet him halfway through the story, and he has a lot of songs or elements of the story that are interjected throughout the story, like a political kind of rant against the problems he sees that are wrong with the world. Then you have Satoshi Nakamoto makes an appearance, who is, of course, the inventor of Bitcoin, because something special about having total financial freedom, being able to send money to anyone without having anyone being able to stop it. Then you have the character The Light, who is he was in a romantic relationship with John Doe. And of course, she was killed in Afghanistan after. She's a journalist. She's not a soldier. She's just a journalist trying to get a feel for it, to illuminate the situation of what's happening in the country. And after the American troops totally withdrew from Afghanistan without, of course, proper planning, she ends up being enslaved and killed by the Taliban. And also, let's see. Yep, and of course she's in a romantic relationship with John Doe. Then we have, let's see here. Yeah, she's named the Light. She's like the title character pretty much, but she dies at the beginning of the story, and there's this scene where John Doe walks by her house, realizing she's not alive anymore, and then he goes through the city, meets Galway Girl and Father Time and Don't Cry Girl, and they just go like exploring the city, which in this case is Oakland, California. And then they end up in Los Angeles, and later on, I haven't written this part yet, but they end up in San Diego and Washington, D.C. is where the story ends. I think like the book cover I want to have is the character of, one of the characters, I think I want to have Galway Girl with her hand held up in the air, like in the Capitol building in the United States in the background, and just some like really, in a really artistic way, and then have a candle in her hand, and the book title at the top, of course. So this is the start of a new series. It's not really in the same universe as any of the other stories I've written, which is why it's so good. It's like a new series, and I feel like I have so much planned for this going forward. Sort of like a spiritual successor or a new version of Green Day's American Idiot. Like the one thing I took from Green Day, of course, is the fact that all the characters have like poetic names that aren't actually their real names, but it's like a poetic name that symbolizes the emotion that the character embodies, etc. And then you have, of course, I get inspiration from everything I read pretty much, especially there's this book called Deaf Republic, which is actually written by a deaf person about sort of like, I forget what it was about really, but it's like an invasion of a country and everyone's going deaf. Just like the way that kind of story is told through poetry really was inspiring to me, like in that kind of way. Like, and there's really so much you can do with poetry that you can't do with novels or anything like that. Even though this is not really a true story, it's more like a poems where the poems complement the story, you know what I mean? So let's see if I can read something from this book. I don't even know. Okay, let's see. This is poem number 3 from American poet L.G. the Light, and of course, it's all subject to change because this poem is, of course, revisable. Could go into and revise it later. This poem is from. This part is from John Doe's perspective. The dusty streets of the city never touched by the light of the stars. Always darkness and smog hovering over the world. Pictures of what we preach with our words, strewn across the news. Limp, unable to move, tangled, tortured, and true love has flown so far away. This is my elegy for this light. Across the empty streets, I'm not afraid. I walk away from the memories of the past, tormented by the rage in my soul. Pages of the history of our experiences blown apart in the wind, fading so far in the opposite direction of the lonely road I walk in this life. With no telling what I will find if I take one step forward. Toward the darkness, the streets of Oakland, California, the poem itself, now these streets. As we realize the hopelessness of our own souls to pack up and leave our own rooms, to go anywhere, graffiti on the walls of my heart, pointing me to get up and go somewhere far away from here. To leave is my one desire. My heart is elusive, trying to leave my present experience, the echoing nature of the power of reverberating song. I heard it somewhere in the distance, the voice of a young woman strumming her guitar, but she was too far. There were no cars in the streets. There are no people. No one leaves and no one ever arrives. Police tread these streets, asking for the reason why I left my home. I lie and walk away. The drowning of the life of silence. The anchor we drop into the water never keeps our ship near our shore. Nothing we can do to tame our own hearts. Although locked inside, we will always dream of the dawn of the life of freedom, which we may never see. While we are alone, what are you waiting for? The only power in my soul is my almighty heart, and the pen that exudes from my hand. And with this power I go against the world. And the president in a mask. Images in my mind that portray the world the way it used to be. The world of 1992 is gone. In its place, a poisonous dream we fall into forever and never wake up. Come hold on to these memories with me before they are forgotten forever. I am only so strong. I cannot lift the world under my small shoulders. I entered the bar and saw her there. Doors were boarded up. Business was closed down. There would never be music heard again. And I saw her there, Galway girl, the only other person who walked the streets of Oakland, poured out her heart to me. We will never stop the vicious vultures circling above us, waiting for us to stop moving and give up. We were demonized as enemies of the state, lives broken, the light strangulated until she could no longer breathe. She who I had loved, lost forever, I left for dead in a nation that was not her home. I told Galway girl of my experiences, of all my grief, of all my torment, and she listened to every word I said. In a world divided, the connection with a friend ensures we will not be conquered. No, my protest, my anthem, my glory, my fallen world will be burned and rise transformed. When power fell into the hands of those who we never appointed as overlords, we stood there as souls separated, locked in distinct and unreachable rooms, unable to communicate or speak. The fog of tears from our eyes blinded us. The power of the darkness had strangled the light, and we can only now sing a dirge for what has passed, as we descend into the world of darkness, ruled by those who crush us and twist our arms behind our backs, violently strangled forever. And this is switching characters, Galway girl. I did not say a single word, but was here only to listen. I opened a Corona beer and took a sip, remembering the taste when the world was free. As I listened, I thought about the things I had done, everything I regretted and everything I was proud of, but was glad that I was free. I followed the pure part of my heart. He switched on the TV and we heard the news reports. And that's it for that poem. Poem number 3. Give you a little glimpse of the story there. But anyway, I got a sign out, and I'll see you guys all later. Thank you so much for listening.